Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have no doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have no doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubt that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think, well, I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
The Revelation of John, Chapter 1. The Revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bare record of the word of God, and of the testimony of Jesus Christ, and of all things that he saw. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. John, to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you, and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us, and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and hath made us kings and priests unto God and his Father. To him be glory and dominion for ever and ever. Amen. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so. Amen. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ, was in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and heard behind me a great voice, as of a trumpet, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, and what thou seest, write in a book, and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned I saw 7 golden candlesticks, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth, and was dead, and behold, I am alive for evermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. Write the things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches.
Good evening. It is November 3rd, 2014. It's a Monday. I'm your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the Watchman News. So, I did a lot of praying about what I would, what book of the Bible, I should say, that I would go to next. And I had prayed about it all weekend, and I apologize, by the way, for not having a show Friday. Had some personal things to deal with. I really do not like missing shows. I couldn't get around it, and for that I apologize. But I prayed hard all weekend about it, and I got nothing. I really got nothing. And then all of a sudden, maybe about an hour before the show tonight, it became very crystal clear to me which book of the Bible I was supposed to start. And that's how it works with me. And I need to get rid of my phone. Anyway, that's how it works with me. And Revelation. and why that came to me, I do believe is for obvious reasons. But so we will be doing Revelations until it's done, or we're done, or Turkey's done. I don't know. So anyway, if you hadn't noticed, there is now ads on the YouTube channel, and I apologize in advance for those ads because I hate them probably more than anybody else. The thing of it is I need an income, and that will help me generate an income. And until the juice business gets going, that's what I'm going to have to do, I guess, for the time being. So, speaking of that, I did work on the page again today. I spent a good part of the day actually just working on a single banner image, and pretty proud of it. Figured I would show it to you guys. This is what the page currently looks like. The link to Survival Smokes is down in the About tab, way down there. And anyway, if you use an electronic cigarette and you're looking for good quality juice for a decent price, by all means, come check us out. So, yeah, I worked just on this banner here. I worked a pretty good part of the day. It was mainly doing the two different types of lettering. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. So tomorrow, wow, I've got a few things to say about that. I figure we might as well get Suspicious Observers out of the way. I've got a video from him, and then BP Earthwatch has also uploaded a video to do with a giant sunspot, and I wanted to point that out as well. I've got plenty of news for you. I've got plenty of prepping tips today. I don't know if I will get through them all, but I will do as many as I can. And I'm trying to get back in that direction as well. I want to try and find a fine balance between news and prepping information, especially as things come together to a head and we, if you want to call it, progress into what is to come. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and have a listen to Suspicious Observers, and I will talk to you in a bit.
Good morning, folks. Looking top left, we see the only relevant solar flare of the last day, a C9.4 class flare, almost an M, but it occurred behind the limb. We just caught a piece of it. We will get to see this spot come in over the next day and a half. High energy protons remain, peaking out overnight, barely up into storm range, and even while going down now, the effect on Earth's polar region is still evident on the D region absorption. Our Earth-facing solar quiet persists despite these grow and move, but they remain magnetically split side to side, while the remaining spots seem to lack complexity and the umbral size to fire big. Solar wind shows above average telemetry, but nothing major. KP is elevated a bit the last few hours, and we've taken some plasma penetration past Earth's magnetosphere. But all in all, a very calm day on our star. Moving on to seismicity. This highly unusual quake in Portugal is even weirder when you see it actually rang into 5 and magnitude 6 range on the full listings. Also note a swarm in the central Atlantic, right on the ridge, at least 3 moderate tremors there. Our third above average Africa quake in as many days as well, one way south of Australia, and another 4-pointer in Oregon, capped with a tremor that hit magnitude 6 on a couple meters in the Indian Ocean. Big story today recaps the winter smack the U.S. just took. Not only is this the earliest snowfall in recorded history for South Carolina, it fell to the tune of 16 inches. That's quite a way to break a record. In fact, we had record snow and record cold across much of the east, from snow totals north into New England to record early November cold in southern Florida. Folks, this is one of our most important topics of discussion and where we find the most attacks on the discourse. The UN recently published their latest regurgitation of the political lines, only this time they actually pulled back their wording a bit. Not that you'd know it from the media coverage, you'd think they said something new and terrifying. But perhaps you notice that the heat of climate change isn't really so bad, but the cold seems to shatter records. Channel veterans have been watching that for more than 2 years. The problem is that the real danger comes from cold. And of the $27 billion spent studying the climate every year, they spend not 1 cent studying the antithesis of warming. Folks, this is where I recommend our climate change playlist. You can click my name here on YouTube and then scroll down the channel page when it loads. You can find all of our playlists there. It will take 1 hour to watch all these videos in the climate change list, but you'll jump about 10 steps ahead of the mainstream propaganda and understand why climate change remains such an important matter. You could also just scroll down on this video page and find my comment that has our websites listed at the top. Click read more to get today's featured story links and links to our playlists. Bad news as Nuri begins northward swing past Japan there. Back in the East Pacific, we see Vance as a level 2 hurricane settling back onto its original track for Mexico. Still got a major snowmaker in New England as that low churns away. But now, we'll begin to warm back up starting in the central states as a northern flow of heat and moisture is one half of convergence drawing up to the northwest low, which pulls the cooler air around the west side for the other half. There will be storms shooting east off the convergence and some big time snow out west, possibly more than the last few days. Cue the broken record. Is this thing ever going to leave? Convergence at the coastline is where our storm alerts fall. Down under, we see a convergence sitting atop New Zealand and another forming in the north and northeast portions of Australia. They will dance a bit today and drop the weather alerts for this region. HelioViewer appears to be taking another couple days off, so we're at Proba, STO, and Iris for shots of our star to close. It's 6:05 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:05 a.m. Central. That's the news. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.
And thanks to Ben Davison for his wonderful report. As always, like I said, I do have a video from BP Earthwatch, and he's going to talk about a sunspot that apparently is coming, I believe is coming along the limb. I haven't been able to watch the video yet myself. I just seen it pop up right before the show, actually as I was setting the show up. So let's see what he has to say on this giant sunspot.
November 23rd, 2014. We're looking at Earth-facing SDO images. Top left corner, we've got a sunspot coming around that's capable of strong flares, and this registered in Boulder as a strong M flare. If it had been Earth-facing, we may have had a stronger, maybe an X flare. We've seen that happen before. Now, what we're doing is 2 coronal mass ejections today from filament releases. Check this out. Right there in the top left and then in the left center. First there, check that out. That will be Earth facing because of the end of the filament that released. In other words, it lifted from the top and then a whip-like motion was thrown to the Earth. The center one was thrown upward. Now, these are today's Earth facing SDO images also from a different camera. Notice the size of the sunspot compared to 2192 that we dealt with last week. Rolling on the backside, I checked stereo A out, and I'll show you those. But again, look at the difference. That was the largest in over 24 years. Now, the flare that I showed you at the beginning of the video came up into the M class. Notice at the bottom right, this is registered at Boulder, Colorado. If that had been Earth-facing, I think it would have been stronger. Now, the ACE EPAMP electrons have been elevated for the last 3 days since we saw those CMEs from the 2 major filament releases. The 2 prominences rose on the bottom left, top right of the corner. Now, it's the timestamp at the top of this. This is where's the stereo satellites. Stereo A in the red dot and B are on the opposite side of the Earth. That's why they're saying we're having all the transmission problems. We are getting some still images. Some are a day or 2 behind. But this is stereo A, notice, on the opposite side of Earth, what we just what we were just looking at. This is 2192. This is it back a few days ago when it was on the Earth's facing side. This thing is still growing. Again, this image last week from one of my videos as it was Earth facing. Now it's on the back side of the sun, still growing. One that size, again, they had said that it may last 2 to 3 rotations. This is backside images from yesterday from Stereo 8. Check that out. Again, top left from last week, the sunspot's still growing. We're going to have to contend with this in about November 15th, which we're looking at, 11, 12 days. This will be coming back around the right side of the sun. Now, the sunspot in the top right is what gave us the flare this morning. You got to just change cameras. Think about the other side of the Earth coming around top left. So that's what's coming. Also, there's a line of sunspots. Notice stereo ahead, the EV171. The line of sunspots you see to the right are also coming around. They will beat this large sunspot. Now, looking at today's, notice the timestamp. This is called the CME arrival time prediction. It's from the ISWA Center, November 3rd through the 4th in the red. This is the side glancing blow of the coronal mass ejections we saw 2 days ago. Now, those were so strong that we saw immediate impacts upon the Earth. It's like the shock wave of a nuclear blast. You see that, you see the impact of it, then you see the actual explosion itself pass out in the secondary wave. That's what we're dealing with here. Remember the 6.0 quake and then the 7.1 just as they were exploded from the sun. So that's what we're dealing with. Now, again, this will be a side glancing blow, but we'll have to pay attention into the 4th, which would be universal time, as far as any additional tectonic pressure on our earthquake areas. But guys, it's a heads up. Be safe.
Thanks to BP Earthwatch for that update. Yeah, apparently he was talking about the one that was already Earth-facing, and the idea that that thing is still growing is kind of intimidating. We got very lucky when it passed by. Didn't even know that it released a couple of X flares, that there was no CMEs, no coronal mass ejections associated with those X flares. I don't know that we could be so lucky again. And then on top of that, to have a whole string of sunspots coming in before that. Wow, it's something that I will definitely keep tabs on and keep an eye on. So tomorrow is election day, and wow, what to say about that? I'm not one to tell people what to do or not, what not to do, but really, I'm seeing it, and I figured I would. I'm seeing it on social media and everywhere else, all the flaming going back and forth, and get out and your vote counts, and blah blah blah. No, it doesn't. Let's stop. Let's stop with the games. Until we stop playing their game, they're not going to stop playing the game. That's what they want. They want people to battle and bicker back and forth and think that their vote counts and all that. And we've already seen nonstop stories already about voting machines that quote unquote do not work correctly. And you don't know which of these stories is true and which is just rhetoric that's getting tossed around by the other side. It's hard to say, but I can say that anybody of any importance in our government is not elected. They are selected. And if you don't think that's true, then you don't see the big picture. Look, there's people that make it in government office, and they make it in year after year after year. And with the things, the crazy things, the crazy policies that they bring in while they're in office, nobody seems to ask the question, why is this person still getting back in time and time and time again? Look at Governor Pat Quinn in Illinois. Not that he's been around that long, and I'm sure he'll probably be headed to prison here before too long, but like all the other governors in the past. But here's the thing. Like, I'm thinking more like Mayor Francis Slay in St. Louis. He's been there for a good long while. And most everybody in St. Louis disagrees with his policies and his ideals and the things that he's brought into their policing while he's there, and he still gets reelected each and every time. When are people going to wake up and start asking questions about this? Look, it's a joke. If you hold a public office and you're somebody that's in an important public office, it's pretty safe to say that you're being selected. So let's quit with the rhetoric. I mean, it's up to you. You want to go vote tomorrow? That's fine. I would tell you this, that even if somebody brought a voting ballot to my home, it would not be worth the lead and a pencil for me to mark an X. Okay, I'm not going to have any part in it, and I know a lot of people might have different views on that, but we have to stop playing the game. It's that simple, because until we stop playing, they're going to keep playing. It's that simple. I don't know how to break it down any more than that. The lesser of two evils is still evil. That's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and get on. I said my piece about voting. Let's go ahead and go on. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on towards the Ferguson, Missouri way. And I've been talking about how they've been continually ramping up, right? Trying to get people pitted against one another. It's a psyop. They're just trying to get people bickering and arguing back and forth to make it about anything other than what the actual issue is, which of course is police violence and the militarization of the police force. So we've had it made about race issues. We've had it made about all kinds of stuff other than what it's really about. Now, and this is a very popular event that's hosted every year, now apparently it's going to have to be postponed. Wow. Guns and Hoses boxing event postponed amid Ferguson unrest. Organizers of the 28th annual Guns and Hoses boxing event to benefit the families of emergency responders killed in the line of duty have announced this year's event will be postponed. It breaks our hearts, said Ron Battelle, the executive director of Backstoppers Incorporated, in an exclusive interview with Fox 2. Battelle is also the former St. Louis County Police Chief. The Backstoppers organization provides financial assistance to the spouses and children of emergency responders who die in the line of duty. The organization serves 18 Missouri and Illinois counties surrounding St. Louis. Guns and Hoses is the top fundraiser of the year for the Backstoppers. Firefighters and police officers from area departments square off against each other in boxing matches at Scott Trade Center on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving every year. Not this year. The continued unrest in Ferguson has put heavy demands on emergency responders across the region, inhibiting the volunteers fighters' ability to train, organizers said. Those demands will likely continue to impact behind the scenes organizers. Emergency responders donate to the cause every year. There are also concerns about attendance. The event drew about 17,000 people last year, with emergency responders, their friends, and families making up a significant portion of the crowd. The top concern is public safety, organizers said. They always want to point out safety. We're worried about your safety. We're worried about your safety. Yeah, except when they go to serve a no-knock warrant to the wrong house and shoot your 7-year-old daughter in the head or kill the family dog. They're not too worried about that safety. It's amazing. They want to make sure everyone is available for duty, with things in Ferguson continuing to unfold. A grand jury decision on whether to indict Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of Michael Brown, 18, is expected this month. Our focus is honoring the lives of those who have died in the line of duty and providing support to their families, Patel said. To hold the event at this time could serve as a distraction and a disservice to those fallen heroes and their families who deserve our full attention and support. He stressed the event was postponed and not canceled. Organizers hope to hold Guns and Hoses after the new year and return to the traditional date next November, Battelle said. Any tickets already sold will be good for the rescheduled event. So they're just trying to find more reasons to pit people against one another. They want a civil war in this country. They don't want a revolution. They want us fighting each other, not them. It'll be the powder keg that does it. Hey, like I've mentioned before, I seen it with the Trayvon Martin deal. They were doing everything they could to pit people against each other. Doing everything they could. Man, they had so much gas laying out and all them fumes, but nobody struck a match. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. They're pouring that gas out again, and we'll see if somebody strikes a match this time. It's a little bit different in this area than what it is in Florida. It really is. The big difference in between the two regions. We'll see what happens. On with the news. Obama on moms who stay home to raise kids. That's not a choice. We want Americans to make. Americans to make what? Well, let's listen to Obama and see what he's got to say.
Slots or the best programs may be too far away. Someone, usually mom, leaves the workplace to stay home with the kids, which then leaves her earning a lower wage for the rest of her life as a result. And that's not a choice we want Americans to make. So let's make this happen. By the end of this decade, let's enroll 6 million children in high-quality preschool. And
Okay, let me tell you something, Mama. You are part of the problem. Here's the issue. Here is what I see as the issue. Now, don't take what I say as being something chauvinistic. Hear me out. Back in, say, the 50s and in the 60s, women didn't have to work because the man could make enough to support the family. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that a woman should be at home barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen. I am not getting at that whatsoever. In fact, I think whoever wants to take on whatever role, that's perfectly fine. But we are supporting this idea that a household has to have two incomes to make it. How come back in the 50s and 60s, a household could live a nice, middle of the way lifestyle with one income? One income, you could live a decent lifestyle. Now, with two incomes, we're at the edge of poverty. What's wrong with that picture? And now they're just supporting the same old rhetoric and the same old rhetoric. Look, I'm not saying that women shouldn't, have careers and they shouldn't. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. If dad wants to stay home and be house dad and mom wants to go out and have a career and all that, that's fine. If they both want to work and bring home and save and do whatever with that extra income, that is perfectly fine. But we are missing the focus here, and that each of us as individuals aren't making enough to live, no less put back or create new businesses. Because it's you and me that create jobs. That's a fact. Sure, Walmart creates some jobs here and there, and other companies create. But let me tell you something. The mass growth of jobs come from middle-class families that start new businesses. That is where you get your job growth. You don't get it from these huge corporations. In fact, they're cutting down. I mean, look, McDonald's is already looking at putting robots in to take your order. So we've got to deal with the issue. And the issue is there are no jobs, and the jobs that there aren't paying enough for people to venture out on their own, create their own businesses, and create more jobs. So I wanted to point that out because it seems like our government wants to steer us off course. And we're already off course far enough, but it seems like they're just wanting to follow that trend in the same direction, and it's hurting us, the American people. really, really hurting us bad, and it's going to continue to hurt us. So anyway, in other news, and I just seen this, and I figured I would cover it, even though technically it's old news. I mean, come on, every major nation in the on the planet has this technology and has had this technology since the 80s or before. China unveils anti-drone laser weapon able to shoot down small aircraft within 5 seconds. You guys remember a program when Reagan was president called Star Wars? And they made it sound like, when they did release information, they made it sound like it was a satellite up in space that shot missiles out to take out other missiles. Well, let me not break your heart here, but they lied to you. That was a laser missile defense system. In fact, it's gotten so advanced now, and you can look this up. This is, I do believe, declassified. Air Force One even has a laser defense system built right on board the airplane. It can use lasers to knock out incoming missiles. So I don't know why we keep playing this game of, okay, well, we'll lob our ping pong ball at your ping pong ball and see if we can hit them together. Look, it's bogus, you know. So anyway, they came out with this report, and we'll go ahead and read it for humor anyway. China has developed and successfully tested a highly accurate laser defense system against light drones. Thank God it's not a heavy drone. The homemade machine boasts a 2-kilometer range and can down various small aircraft within 5 seconds of locating its target. Boosting high speed, great precision, and low noise, the system is aimed at destroying unmanned small-scale drones flying under an altitude of 500 meters and at speeds below 50 meters per second. The official Xinhua news agency reported, citing a statement by one of the developers, the China Academy of Engineering Physics. Wow. So, you know, wow, lasers must have slowed down since I last knew about it. It cracks me up just how far back they make technology sound. A researcher successfully bring down over 30 drones, a 100% success rate according to the statement. The laser system is expected to play a key role in ensuring security during major events in urban areas. Intercepting such drones is usually the work of snipers and helicopters, but their success rate is not as high, and mistake with accuracy can result in unwanted damage. Well, since when does the government care about that? Explained Yi Jinsong, a manager with oh my goodness, with that high-tech equipment corporation, right? You see the name. Yi told Xinhua the small-scale unmanned drones are relatively cheap and easy to use, which makes them a lucrative choice for terrorists. Concerns have also been raised recently over drones involved in unlicensed mapping activities and the negative effect this could have on both military and civil aerial activities. And I want to point out, as a former ultralight aircraft pilot, that's something that we talked about at the airfield, and something that brought concern amongst us was all this drone activity and whether or not we were going to have to be concerned with it when flying ultralight aircraft. So anyway, the Academy is currently working on developing similar laser security systems with a greater power and range, the Chinese news agency reported. The drone industry has been booming in recent years with the challenge to build small, hard-to-track drones that are difficult to shoot down. So yeah, interesting. There's more to the article. I don't believe that this link is in the About tab because I ran across this after I set the show up, but it's on RT and it just came out today, so you can probably find it right on their homepage. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what to say. The whole drone thing is crazy, but I just don't understand why they're talking about technology that is well over 30 years old. I don't get why they do that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, we're going to go ooh, ah, or something like that over, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why why it's important to talk about this old technology and act as if it's new technology. It is not. So anyway, let's start on with a little bit of prepping. I've got like 19 minutes left in the show. So when the SHTF, these cheap items will be worth their weight in gold. And this first item, I could not tell you. The link's down in the About tab. Get one, get two, get three, get 10. Get as many as you can. Get as many as you can. And on eBay, and I'll find it with you real quick. I didn't have this link up, so we're going to make this real simple. We're just going to go to ebay.com, right? And then I want to type in, I'm going to put in, maybe to put in 2500 watt inverter, and I'm going to put stackable. Stackable is key. Stackable is key. And here you go. Roughly 188 bucks, 190 bucks, whatever. This, let me tell you what. Before a woman caused me to lose everything I owned, I had some of these. You can stack up to 10 of these. They're 2,500 watts continuous, 5,000 watts peak, and you can stack up to 10 of them. Yes, you could stack enough to power your entire home. And they're roughly 190 bucks a piece. They work very, very well. You have my word on that. I powered an entire camper with mine. In fact, I ran a 110 or 120 volt welder, little bitty MIG welder from Harbor Freight, off of just two of those. I ran that little bitty welder, and it welded fine. It wasn't weak or anything like that. It really did a good job. So I'm telling you, this is a route to go, really. And if you can't afford this, if you say, oh no, I just can't do that, I just can't do that, okay, that's fine. These here are not as expensive. Okay, this one here is $26.65 a piece. So, and these are 400 watt. So, but I'm telling you, this is more than worth its weight in gold, especially if you're like me. I have 1,000 books or so on Kindle on my phone. And this would be a absolute lifesaver. All I have to do is be able to keep power to my phone, keep that battery charged, and I have a wealth of information and knowledge. And this probably wouldn't be big enough to run most computers, but if you got one a little bit bigger, you could power a computer off of it, and that would be great. This is kind of a small unit, but this would be fine for phones and stuff like that. This would be more than fine to recharge phones or electronic cigarette batteries. Hey, so anyway, power inverter, good idea. Bike tower pack. I'll be able to talk, I promise you. Bike tire patches. If, say, there was an EMP type of event to hit America, it would take several years for the grid to be repaired. It's a worldwide event, and it would probably take even longer. Either way, the need for transportation would not go away. However, I don't see horses making a comeback anytime soon. Even if it takes a decade for the lights to come back on, I don't think you could breed them fast enough to accommodate the survivors. What would be far more abundant is bicycles. Even without maintenance, the current stock of bicycles in circulation would last a long time. The only exception to this would be the inner tube, which is prone to punctures and leakage, so having a fully stocked repair kit would be a good idea. You can keep spare inner tubes for your own bicycles, or maybe even buy a couple more to trade with. Fortunately, repair kits and inner tubes are both small and very cheap. And let me tell you what, in a SHTF situation, if you had a puncture in your bicycle tube, as long as you had some rubber cement, okay, you could take a tube that has had it. You know, let's say you had a tube and it's gotten so many punctures in it, just you quit messing with it and you had a spare tube, you put it on there, but then you get a puncture, but you have no patch kit. You can just take and cut some of that rubber off of that old tube and use it as a patch, but you have to have that glue. So that's an important thing. I would say, personally, get you some spare tubes and get you some rubber cement. I would get you, I would actually get the tubes of rubber cement, the little one. You go and you get a big container of rubber cement, and what's going to happen is that's going to dry out, and you're going to be a year or two down the road. You're going to need to patch your tire, and you use the channel locks to get the stupid cap off the can because it's glued on by now, and you're going to find that your glue had dried out. So it's better off to get the small little tubes of glue, and you could probably go to Amazon. Let's go to Amazon. I mean, this stuff is cheap, folks. Stuff is nice. Cement. Okay. I just wanted to give you an idea. See, here's the big holes and stuff. You really don't, you don't want that. But here you go, right here. So you could buy, it doesn't say how many. Okay, 10 pieces for a lot. So for $10, you're paying $1 a piece for these tubes, right? And there's probably enough in that tube to fix anywhere from 3 to 5 tires. So there you go. You can spend, 10, 20 bucks on rubber cement, buy you some extra spare inner tubes to make patch material with the old ones after you replace the tire. You might want to buy yourself a little, a few patches until that first tire has had enough and you put it back for patch material. So, and you can buy your generic patches here as well. Like 25, they're 25 millimeters. There's 48 pieces in here for $5, right? I think that is affordable. So it's a good idea. It's something that a lot of people probably don't think about, and I would go with it. Vitamin C. Well, we're not going to read it all, but it's probably important to have vitamins. And let me tell you how important it is. My lovely girlfriend, she had cerebral palsy, and she deals with soreness, and she's tired a lot. And so I was talking to her, and in our conversations, I was trying to figure out how could, she doesn't like taking painkillers or man-made medicines or anything like that. And so in my conversations with her, I was thinking, how can I guide her so that she can feel better, in a natural manner? And so we got to talking, and this may or may not fit you, but we got to talking, and her mood swings during the wintertime. And in our talks, it came out that she wasn't out in the sun as much. And that rang bells in my head. I was like, oh, so that means you have a vitamin D deficiency. So I got to looking on the net, trying to find out something she could, life isn't quite so easy for her. She can't just hop in a car and go wherever. So she pretty much does her shopping at that evil Walmart. So I went online. I found out, okay, well, what is the best vitamin that Walmart carries? And I'll tell you what, she got something. It's Caltrate brand. It's 600 plus D3 Caltrate brand. And I'll tell you what, remarkable difference. Her moods are totally better. She feels good throughout the day. Her pain level has gone down to nearly nothing. Okay, so obviously she has had a vitamin and nutrient deficiency for some time. I don't know how many times she's made the comment to me that if I would have known this years ago, I'd have been taking it. So this says vitamin C. I'm going to tell you to go out and get a good multivitamin. Now, don't go out and go get cheap, okay? That's not the answer. Some things you do get what you pay for. When it comes to electronic things, I tell people do their research, because some of the highest price stuff is junk. Some of the cheapest price stuff is best. So, but I will tell you, with vitamins, that is not the case. Caltrate's a good brand, but they even have better brands available than that. But be prepared to spend a little bit more. So we already talked about a power inverter, a DC to DC converter, and that just would be changing voltages, like say from a 12-volt car battery down to say 5 volts or so, which is the input for a USB powered device. This is Polar Pure. It's a way to purify water. It's basically iodine. So you can check that out. The link's down in the About tab. Feel free to go there, and they have links to these different products. So let's go on to the next bit of prepping information, which I think probably, because I'm not going to get to it all, I want to pick, I've got 3 more. I want to pick the best one out of there, and I do believe I am going to go with this. Sorry it took me so long. I'm pretty good at decision making, but I was trying to get the most bang for your 8 minutes. Bugging out military style using a military mindset, because mind you, you are going to have to do that. Some naturally assume that all military members are trained in advanced survival tactics such as bushcraft skills and various other skills that John Rambo so famously demonstrated in the Rambo series. Actually, this is not the case, however, because only a select few are invited to take advanced survival training courses. The most well-known survival training program is the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape course, better known as the SERE program. The United States Air Force designed and implemented SERE training for pilots and other aircraft personnel in the 1950s. Pilots shot down over enemy territory needed certain skills to survive on the ground. They needed to hunt the enemy while at the same time survive off the land. They also needed to know how to resist once captured and untimely escape. The course was a success and continues today, with all branches of service providing the training. Aviators, special operations personnel, some military contractors, and certain Department of Defense personnel would be candidates for the training. Those deemed at a high risk for capture do need the highly specialized training. The typical soldier can expect support personnel to be in rear units located close enough to make resupply not much of a problem in most cases. Usually a headquarters and headquarters company in the Army, for an example, will have the needed service and support personnel to keep soldiers supplied. So this means military support units are located virtually everywhere in the world. Therefore, most military personnel do not need advanced survival training because they have support battalions that take care of dates and blankets. And I want to take this moment to point out has been stockpiling different supplies all across the country, because that's what they are doing. They are pre-staging their supplies and equipment. Special operations personnel and certain others, however, do not operate in areas where there would be a support battalion located in the rear. Special operations teams are expected to operate independent of support personnel, and thus they need specialized skills to survive in any environment. The training is extensive, and once a member goes through the training, their knowledge is built upon daily training session or ongoing. Practicing the skills once acquired is essential. Yeah, it doesn't matter what all you know, and I know quite a bit myself, not to toot my own horn, but I've practiced very little of it. However, I am very, very well at adapting, so I don't think I'm going to have too much of an issue. So what does this have to do with you? If you as a prepper have to bug out and will not have a support battalion, and if you do have one, send them my way, that you can call upon. In other words, you will be operating independently of all support services. Service you would normally expect from local municipalities will not be available. Grocery stores will be shuttered, gas stations boarded up, and law enforcement is not likely to respond. And this is something that I've been telling you about since I've started doing this show, and I've been telling other people about for the last 4 years. People in a mindset, what if everything shuts down? Because it is going to. It is going to. And it's going to be a totally different mindset, a totally different environment when we can't go to the store and get anything. And that's another reason why I've taken my vaping business, my e-juice business, to a different direction than what most do. Because, hey, you're not going to be able to go to the 7-Eleven or whatever gas station and get you a pack of smokes. And those that are addicted to nicotine are going to have a rough time of it in an already stressful situation. I'm telling you, electronic cigarettes is the way to go with that. Like special operations teams, you would need the tools and equipment that allows you to survive using what is available from your environment. Payload would include, but not be limited to, weaponry, ammunition, food, maps, navigational equipment to include GPS, water, and various communications equipment. You could also expect team members to have state-of-the-art night vision equipment, first aid supplies, multi-tools and fixed-blade knives. Knowing what environment they will be operating in allows soldiers to adapt their equipment for specific terrain, climate, and even culture. Unlike military missions, bugging out is not planned around any specific timetable. You really have no idea how long you will be gone, so the emphasis must be placed on tools and equipment geared towards sustainability. In other words, you cannot carry enough food and water for an indefinite period. This means that you will need the materials and equipment to obtain what you need from your environment. And I want to take this time to make a note that, hey, you know, I do mention like Bud K as a place to get stuff. Let me tell you something. They've got some good stuff on there, and they've got some junk stuff on there. When you're getting an axe, when you're getting a knife, when you're getting something like this, pay some money and get you something that's good quality. Unless you can find something that's relatively cheap and made with just as good a quality, because if your life depends on it, you are going to need it to work. You're going to need it to stand up to the abuse and use of every single. Your life is going to depend on that equipment. Don't go buy a $10 knife and think that it's going to last you a couple of years. It's probably not. Caches can be a lifesaver. Specialized teams have been known to cache or cache, potato, supplies in certain areas, and all personnel on the teams are instructed on how to locate the caches. Caches may include weapons, cache, certain travel documents, maps, and so forth. The contents of each cache would be relevant to the culture, terrain, team members, and other mission requirements. Keep in mind, special operation teams are meant to operate in an unconventional manner. As a prepper, you must begin to think out of the box. You must begin to think in unconventional ways at times to be able to accomplish the mission, which is to keep yourself and your family alive during a crisis, any crisis. You cannot carry it all on your back, so you do need the means to resupply yourself eventually. Caches make perfect sense, and you should learn how to do them properly and know what to place in each one. Go with the assumption that you will come upon each cache with nothing more than the clothes on your back. In other words, make each cache an independent resupply depot that has items for complete sustainability. You do not want ammunition in one cache and then have to seek another cache for your weapons, and the same goes for food and water or other supplies. This, of course, does not mean place all items in the same container, but have various containers in the same cache. It is important to know the terrain, climate, and other factors of the area you expect to be operating. Having cold weather gear in a cache in an area that experiences winters would be one example, and climbing rope would be another example if your cache were in a mountainous region. Keep in mind your home base may have an entirely different climate. In other words, it's likely to be a different environment from your bug out location. So stockpile your caches with the items needed for the area in which the cache is located. Skills and knowledge will sustain you when all else fails. Your food and water supply will run out and ammunition may become scarce. You have to rely on your equipment to a certain extent, but it cannot become a crutch. That's so important. You cannot become complacent. Just because the equipment worked yesterday does not mean it will today. Skills will always be with you, but you must first learn them. Evacuating your home bases is not the same as a day hike over a well-marked trails. Even if there is a walking trail, it is not the best of ideas to use one because points along could be an ambush point. That is why it's important that you know how to survive off trail, as it were. Before you go packing your bug out bag with everything but the kitchen sink, learn how to get from point A to point B without being seen. Learn how to acquire food and water and know how to make fire and shelter in any environment. These basics never change, and you cannot get started until you know the basics. Very, very good sound advice. There's more about prepping and stuff in the About tab. Feel free to check it out. I will probably cover it either tomorrow night on the news or at another time on the news, but I did run out of time to do it tonight. With that, that's what I have. I thank you for watching. God bless you all. May God walk with you. Be one with your spirit. I love you all. Hang in there. Good night.